Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Old Card Shop. This is going to be somewhat of a different type of stream than we usually do here. Hello everyone in the chat. You might want to sit back, grab a beverage, as they say. I've gotten a good one right here, one of my favorites for when times get real spicy. And so you might want to do the same, folks, because, wow, some pretty big allegations were dropped today. If you are a Pokemon fan and you like slabs, you like to follow the trophy market, maybe you like just people who flex on Instagram and you follow a lot of those, cool big Instagram accounts, this may have something of interest for you to listen to here. So sit back, relax, enjoy a little tale we're going to spin. So if all of you don't know, Flex Gods, whichever side he may be on the screen, our co-host in the beautiful podcast that we run, a fantastic friend of ours, he has not been following the news here. And so I was texting him and I was like, hey man, have you heard this crazy stuff that's going on with like the Pokemon trophy whatever game? And he's like, what? No, I was at a card show like dealing with other stuff all day, so no. And so I thought, what would be better than to do this live, so people can kind of watch and I can make a fool of myself, sort of speculating wildly on things that really don't involve me, but sort of only vaguely involve me. And I can at least tell my friend what I know about the situation, and maybe other people in the chat can share what they know about the situation. We can all discuss this and unpack this live, because I'm going to say some things in this stream, just as a forewarning, that probably aren't going to be 100%. All the evidence hasn't come to bear. I'm not going to make any allegations I'm personally not going to make any allegations. I'm just going to relay what I've heard. I'm going to do my best to try not to say things that haven't already been said, because there's some serious shit that's coming out here. But I'm also going to come out and I want to say some speculation just based on what I have heard, because this is some craziness. So anyway, without further ado, what happened basically was, apparently just recently, earlier this morning, maybe before this, some news came out that there were some big slabs that were sold by a well-known individual in the hobby, Zhao Jing, which is a big trophy collector. He collects like trophy Pikachus. He collects like illustrators. Like you think of the biggest cards in the hobby. I'm thinking like Dubsy and Zhao Jing. Those are the two names I think of who own that, and Logan Paul, of course. And so apparently, some cards that were sold by him to an individual came out by PSA or by the individual they look kind of sus. It looked as if the card that was inside the PSA 10 slab, the card I'm referring to that I saw pictures of, is a shining PSA 10 Gyarados, a Japanese PSA 10 Gyarados. Allegedly, it was sold by an individual in the United States, or wherever it originally came from. I think it was the United States. And it had very good, clear scans of being a clear PSA 10 mint copy of this Japanese Gyarados. It was sold to Zhao. Zhao then, I guess, allegedly sold it to someone else. And then when that third person got it, they saw the slab, same cert number, same everything. The card didn't look like the same in there. And so it was interesting, because it's sort of weird, because the slab should have a cert number. The cert number you should be able to look up, and you should be able to tell right away if the cert number matches or not. And so it looked to be such a good counterfeit, which is what's alarming about this situation, that the slab immediately looked like a PSA slab. But apparently on further detail, you look at the slab, it looks as if it was cracked out and it was reslabbed, and it doesn't actually look like a legitimate PSA slab anymore. So somewhere along the line, the allegations are that there is a switched card that was switched. The Gyarados was somehow switched, and it wasn't the real Gyarados. And then upon a bunch of other, Instagram messages and back and forth that I've heard about the people involved, it seems to be that other people who have looked at this card and looked at the holo pattern and they can all agree that it's just not the same card. So without saying that, the individual in the middle who sold it to the person, there was one clear, the provenance of the card came from someone where the card was real, it didn't have a crease, didn't have any issues, and it was fine. And then it was sold to an individual in the middle, who then sold it to another individual, who then says that they don't have the same card in the slab. So without saying that one person did something or other, it does seriously seem, it begs the question, how did that happen? Okay, the plot thickens. Now, after that came out, a bunch of other people, at least a few other people that I saw direct messages and like pictures of like cards that they bought from the same individual Zhao are looking closely at their cards, and a lot of them, it doesn't look like they're PSA 10s. People are looking at like scans of the original card and then scans of the card they bought, and it doesn't necessarily look like they're exactly the same. Looks like they're PSA 6s through PSA 7s. So, so this is where the plot thickens, and this is where I personally, this might offend someone because I don't want, especially if I don't want to like hurt anyone who's involved or anything. But it's pretty big allegations. PSA is already taking down those cards, the certifications, they're taking them down. So it's not like the cards are like, oh, this is the buyer. He's saying it's a fake card because he's having buyer's remorse and he's saying it's not good. No, he bought a card. It's the certs are being taken down. It's legitimately a fake, it's a fake cert number. It's not a real slab. The card's real, but the slab is not a real cert number. It's like, it doesn't match. So PSA is doing something about it. So this is where we need to put our tinfoil hats on. Because this is what the allegations, this is what it's hard to unpack it without thinking about what the implication is. Because the implication then is that somebody is basically taking slabs, high grade PSA 10, PSA 9, high grade trophy slabs, really expensive, all the way down to like a couple hundred, but thousands of dollars of slabs, hundreds of dollars of slabs, taking them and buying them in mint condition. Allegedly, someone is then breaking them out, those mint cards of those slabs, getting the certs, getting those PSA, little white, these things. These little guys right here, these little bad boys, they're getting the ones that say 10, and then they're swapping like PSA 7, PSA 6 versions, real versions of those cards, and putting those in the slabs, re-sonic welding it, and then selling that to someone else. That's the allegations that it sort of sounds like, the implication that's there. And if that's the case, if that's been happening, that's a much larger racket. That's a bigger deal than just like one card and like one. It's like, that's a whole big thing. Like you have to have a machine to do that. You've got to have like a team of people most likely helping you sort of do that. You could probably do it just yourself, I could imagine, but it does seem like with numbers as large as we're talking here. And so we're talking big trophy cards. We're talking a lot of big numbers rather than like, little, we're not talking modern alternate arts or whatever. So it begs the question though, is like, why would someone who's so well off, who has so much allegedly capital and money just to throw around, why would they do such kind of lowball kind of scamming sort of methods? And so that's where I just want to hear your kind of take on this. And that's where the story sort of unfolds. And from now, what's happening is PSA is deactivating a lot of these certifications where the cards look sus or the certs look sus or something about the slab looks sus. I just don't understand because like the implication is that someone's buying PSA 10s and cracking PSA 10s, which that's a ballsy, that's a really weird thing to do, first of all. And it's like weird play. It's like kind of a weird scam. Like, I mean, it's obviously, if it's true, if that's what's happening, it's a legitimate scam, but it just seems like a weird scam. Like, have you ever even thought about or heard of something like that? Considered it?
Mm-mm. That's crazy, dude. This all happened today?
In the morning. I heard about it in the morning was when I woke up and it was like being talked about in Discord, and like I saw a bunch of Instagram and like stories and stuff with talking about it. And so like the main card that was like the biggest red flag was that Shining Gyarados, because it has provenance of like before the sale, very clear pictures, scans, pictures of the card. During the sale, after the sale, and very, it has all of it's very trackable with the Gyarados. That was the one that was kind of like a big red flag to me, where I'm like comfortable saying that because there's like that's a weird situation. There are other weird ones too, though. There's like
the info.
There's like a prime card that was like weird too, and like then I saw another really a really respectable member of the hobby, Pichu fan, commenting on it, which that dude only comments. He does another like a Pokemetrics. I think he does Pokemetrics. He might do a different website, but a website that's really, really like good for the hobby. He only comes in and talks about stuff when he's kind of comfortable and pretty sure about what he's going to say and everything. And he has apparently been looking into like holofoil patterns a lot, doing a he was doing an article and talking about like what makes a Cosmos Holo unique, and did a bunch of research on like the foils and the sheets. And he was saying a lot of things look sus about some of those cards just based on like sort of weird holo pattern positioning. They were just clearly not the same card based on that, is sort of what I was gathering from what he was saying. So it's sort of a weird thing to break. It does seem like it'll probably come out more in the near future, as like if this was happening as a wide scale problem, then it's sort of like something that maybe more people will like hear about, and we'll start hearing from more of those buyers looking at their cards and saying, oh yeah, it doesn't look like, I've got a big old dent on my PSA 10 super secret battle Mewtwo. And so it's like, it's just weird, man. Like what world are we coming to where that's the racket that, that's being run? And is that even a real racket? Could that even be done? Do you think it's possible to take a PSA 10, then take a PSA 7, two of the same card, crack the slabs and basically swap them, and then, or basically have two PSA 10s if you just regrade the other one again?
Yeah, like just have an infinite cycle of 10s by doing that over and over and over.
Yeah, do you think that's a legitimate and possible thing, like with modern technology, sonic welding, and like, because that's sort of what we're getting at, right?
Yeah, that's hectic, honestly. And how do the slabs themselves look? Like, do they look good? Like,
so you know how PSA can be, and you know how more so than PSA, BGS is an offender of this with their slabs. Like they have really inconsistent like cracks that run through the edges sometimes, like the way that they weld their. So BGS is worse than this in PSA. PSA is usually pretty consistent, and they've changed over the years. So like I'm not an expert enough about how the PSA slabs during the cert because you can tell from the cert number what type of slab it should have, unless it was reslabbed along the way sometime. And
yeah.
So like I'm not an expert on the slabs enough to be willing to say that, yeah, it looks definitively like this slab was tampered with or not. But if PSA is going through and deactivating the cert numbers, and I'm pretty certain that they're willing to say that it's not, So at least the ones that they deactivate, there's something sus going on. And so I guess it's like the question is like, I'm just like, man, it doesn't even, it seems like such a wild gamble, like to crack a PSA 10. Because first of all, if you're that person who's, and I'm going to stop using I don't want to use his name, even though I've already used his name because I feel bad, like without it being like, point in case he's guilty no matter what. I sort of feel bad accusing someone of something if that's not what's happening. So if he's doing that, though, it seems sort of like a gamble, because like you're gonna have to only crack out the really strong 10s, right? You're gonna have to be so certain that it's gonna get another 10 again, that like it's kind of like, I mean, that's weird, that's crazy.
No, I don't think you have to be like so certain. I mean, PSA is so inconsistent, so it's like they probably would just do it over and over again, right?
I guess that would be the case if it was like, the question is how much money does it take for someone to start thinking about doing that? Like, obviously on like a $100 or $200 card, seems like it wouldn't be worth the $20,000. I guess the machine for a sonic welding machine is like 20 grand, 10 to 20 grand, I would guess.
I mean, all they had to do is just do a couple high-end cards and he's chilling, right? And that pays that off. And then,
as far as that's concerned, yes. But like, so you wouldn't have to do it. You wouldn't want to do it with just like 100. You'd have to do it with the big cards. And if that's the case, those pop reports are pretty fleshed out pretty well. If you did it too many times, you would start kind of noticing. I feel like maybe not. Maybe people aren't keeping that big a track on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. That's tough. That's so weird. I don't think he thought it through, especially with the scans.
That's why it still feels like there's got to be something else that's going to come out, because like, I mean, there's such a difference between a PSA 10 and a PSA 8 in price, but there's not as big of a difference in a PSA 8 and a PSA 10 in look. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's like you would think they would cover their tracks more. Like it's like,
so like the one with the Gyarados with a crease in it, you would think he wouldn't use a Gyarados that has like a straight up crease, because it's like that would be really obvious, or maybe he's getting sloppy. That's where the story starts falling apart, and I start questioning like, okay, this doesn't make sense, like as far as like motive wise, unless there's once again enough money to be made, then I the tinfoil hat, and it starts to wonder like, okay, well, at what point, how much money are we talking here? That has to be that you start thinking like, okay, well, even that could happen, because it's pretty wild allegations. So, I mean, and that's all that I've heard so far. And so everything I've said about, a couple of slabs being deactivated. One other piece of the story. Apparently the person on Instagram who raised some of the alarms and started saying things, not the person who bought the slab, that was the person who originally bought the slab was, I think, who brought it out. But there's another third party, like a quality control, some lady who's like the quality control manager for PSA, who went off and looked at a lot of the pictures and scans and said they weren't authentic. So apparently somewhere along the way, there was another employee who on social media went and looked at some of the stories and the pictures and verified that they didn't look legit, which seems a little bit out of their job title. And it feels like you wouldn't want to do that because you might get your company in trouble. Like, I know that if I was going through a scandal at my job, like at a winery where I used to work at, they probably wouldn't want me to like go and start talking to everyone on social media about it if I before it came out and before they could figure things out. So maybe not, maybe PSA is different, I don't know. But there's another third party which involves PSA on social media who also got into this and started kind of putting in their 2 cents. So
dude, that's so weird. That is really weird that they're like doing that and investigating or whatever.
But like, what a story, right? Like, what a story. Like, what is so what's going on here? What is this actually happening? Is it all just hot air? Is this stream going to be really, really bad because it's like this is a complete and utter just miscommunication, or like maybe the person who did buy it, the end buyer is actually the end scammer of everything, and it's a big racket against the guy, the rich dude in the middle. Like, where's the truth? Like, I'm so far removed from it that like I have zero stakes in the game. I'm just literally like watching from the sidelines. The only thing that would be like sort of concerning is that like if it starts making people really doubt all of their slabs. So like if it is true that these things are being switched and the slabs are so well done that it's getting by people and they're sonically welded that they look like PSA slabs, that all you have to do is get one of these labels and have a PSA 10 label and put it in one of these Chinese slabs and sonic weld it, and you got yourself a duplication. You got a ditto right there that duplicated and used transform. If it's that easy, then the customers online who buy slabs will eventually hear of this and maybe start doubting slabs. Because like, what's the point of buying if you have to look at every single card you buy? What's the point of buying a PSA 10? Like, why buy a PSA 10 if you got to take every single one and really examine it? Like, why not just buy a really mint raw copy and look at it just the same way? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's sort of, it could trickle down with maybe if it destroys some confidence in like, so it's bad for PSA. It's definitely bad for PSA. Like, but maybe not bad for the hobby per se. Actually, it's bad for the hobby. It's just this kind of stuff is always bad when it's bad for the hobby. It's better to not have that happen. But yeah, I mean, I know you were coming back from a card show, and I value your opinion on these things. I had to really vent and just kind of hash it out and sort of hear what someone else thought about it. So,
dude, I don't know. That just doesn't make any, like, you're going back to the point of like, why? What's the motive? Because it's like, what's the most expensive card he probably sold, or like, what's the point? I mean, obviously there's money to be made, but it's like, I just don't see it from his perspective if it's him. Do you know what I mean? Because homie is like balling out. Like, homie has like so many expensive art pieces. Like, what's the point of dedicating this much time and this much effort and your reputation, like risking your reputation for something so minuscule when it's so small in the grand scheme of your own collections? Because like, dude, have you seen his art and stuff? Like,
yeah. And so I totally agree with that. Like, I agree with that thought process, but at the same time, it's almost like it's a red flag or a red herring. It's like trying to distract, like, oh, why would I ever scam if I'm super rich? It's like, it's sort of like, I don't want to say it's faulty logic, but I try not to fall into that just because it's sort of like, okay, it's like saying that rich people don't ever scam or
No,
would
I see
never
what
take
you're
advantage.
saying.
You know what I mean? Whereas, like, to be honest, I don't want to say it sound like I too bad, but rich people got to be rich by stepping all over and I don't want to say scamming, but by essentially taking advantage of less advantaged people.
The
Or
rich get richer. That's just
yeah, it's just a matter of like so let's not pretend like just because homie has a lot of money he wouldn't want to scam people. So that's not necessarily I think something I would go. But I get what you're saying. But so like with a motive thing, I still question like what's the motive like because like you would think this would all fall apart really quickly, I guess. So
yeah. No, I feel you. I mean, it's just like I can't think of any other like where like who did it, where did it happen, why? And it just doesn't make sense to me. Like the story literally makes zero sense. You know what I mean?
it's a crazy story.
It
It's
doesn't feel real.
Chinese whale buys trophy cards, swaps them in slabs, and sells to mostly, it seems like, other Chinese investors, is what it seems like.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, that's
Yeah, okay. So I think, and I don't want to, and this is once again me, I want to go ahead and say right now, this is not something that I'm 100% certain on, but I do think that several of those transactions, and there are probably private transactions that were done, that were unknown about. So were a lot of them to mostly Chinese so it might be him attempting to take advantage of a booming market. And like I said, once again, I don't want to say him or his name because it sounds aggressive. It sounds like I'm like, but I'm just sort of trying to talk about. If someone's like friends with the homie, I don't want them to get offended, if they think I'm accusing their friend or something, because like I'm just trying to talk about this craziness because it's crazy allegations. So, but like, yeah, if he's like, if that's happening, it's just like, it's crazy. It's crazy. That's all.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, if it's true, then I feel like it does destroy market confidence in terms of like PSA. Market's dead. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's already
I
now.
don't know if it would just die straight up, but I feel like that would cause some weird like waves.
So and then it also begs the question: if this is what the homie's been doing, anyone who's like sold to him, it's like you got to worry. It's not like you have any ethical worries or moral worries. I think anyone who's sold to him, but anyone who does sell to him, it begs the question: like, what's he doing with those cards? Like, what's he doing? Like if I sold the dude a PSA, 7 or a PSA 6, because I don't deal on high grade anything, but if I had like a PSA 6 shining Gyarados, Japanese shining Gyarados, like, do I got to worry about like him taking that PSA 6 and putting it in a 10 slab and selling to some Chinese investor? Like that's kind of, I mean, I'll sleep fine, but it's like it's kind of sketchy. It's not something I would want.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Dude, I don't know. That's so weird.
That's something to wake up to.
It's probably gonna come to light in like 2 days.
It's already kind of coming out, but it's most likely gonna. Rattle made a video about it already, and so like the fact that Rattle made a video, it's gonna explode pretty big.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he'll do a follow-up video when more comes out about it, because the allegations, it's not just the one shining Gyarados. Like the story I told, it makes it the way I'm like looking back at this live and like kind of remembering how it went, it makes it seem like this is like one single card. It's a much bigger thing than that. Like looking at like the Instagram and the stories and like all the things I've seen, just reading in my Discord that people have posted and on Instagram, it's like it's deeper than the one card. So it will come out more in a couple of days. More will come out. Whether this is going to age really badly if once again, like I said, if he's completely innocent and this is a big misunderstanding, this is going to age really bad, and I'm going to apologize in advance, like to homie for just calling him basically a scammer. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm just talking about what was said and what was alleged, but making some speculations along the way as well, hence the tinfoil hat. But, if someone's out there scamming like that, if someone's out there got a racket and they got a big $20,000 Sonic welder and they're buying the highest of the high cards in PSA 10, and then they're buying those same cards in like 6s, 7s, 8s, and they're swapping them, dude, that sucks. And if they're doing such a good job that it's like getting by, like until like you get Rattle on it or you get like PSA Pikachu on it, or Pichu fan, or whatever, you know, any of these big names, or any of these like whatever sleuths, these internet sleuths who really are good at what they do, and they find the truth of it. But like, does every single slab need to have an internet sleuth attached to it at this point? Like what do I need to send pictures, all my pictures to Rattle, like of all my slabs? I mean, I'm gonna do it right now, so I hope he doesn't mind. He's gonna wake up in the morning with a you know, an inbox full of slab of PSA 10 modern Junipers, you know, EV Maxes from Shining Fates. Rattle, is my EV real? I need to know. Is my celebrations? I need to know.
Honestly, though, I'm gonna say this though: a PSA 10 is a fake concept of our imagination. There's no such thing. Like, I don't know how to say it. I've gotten so many fraudulent 10s.
But that's what I mean. Like, that's what I was saying earlier. It's a gamble. He's gonna have to be buying the strong 10s and doing that. And does that mean that the homie is using his expertise, and basically he's like looking at a 10 when he gets in and be like, oh, this one will get a 10 any day. He's like, all right, this is a crack. This one's gonna crack, no problem. And then he sees another one. He's like, oh, this is an 8 that got a 10. We're selling this baby as it is. And then when he does something like that, it increases his reputation because it's a legitimate sale. It's just a weak, you know, it's just a weak contender, but it's a real card and a real sale, real cert and all that. So like, you're right. I agree. We've always agreed on this concept that PSA 10s are a sort of like fantastical, you know, sort of like a mystical whatever. It exists, but I don't really care about it. The PSA 10s, I can agree with you on. It's sort of a weird concept.
Yeah, but I just think it muddies the water like even more with all this stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's like, does. If there was a consistent standard of like what a 10 is, then it's like, I don't know. There's like less play for the person doing all this. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's a weird play. It's one of those things that I just kind of need to get it off the chest and talk about. And I'm glad that you hadn't heard about it, honestly, because it gives me a nice canvas to sort of like just talk to someone and tell them, because like, you know, you're invested in this hobby too, but you just didn't hear anything about it. I tried to tell my fiance about this stuff and she's like, yeah, uh-huh. Okay. I was like, no, you don't understand. This is a big deal. Like, this is kind of a big deal. She's like, yeah, whatever. but it is interesting because who knows? Like, maybe it'll all blow over, and maybe it was a single bad lighting picture, and maybe the Gyarados was one instance where it already had a little dent in it, and it just was easy to miss, and it was sold. But that doesn't seem the case because
how many examples are there? Like, how many like really actually like different like black and white example? You know what I mean? There
was the Gyarados. And then there was a Prime Kingdra that I saw examples of in pictures that were very clearly two different cards.
Okay, so two
very clear examples, and then other like people kind of started. I think I saw a couple of the stories of people sort of having suspicions as well.
I mean, it could just be like a weird, like you were saying, just weird lighting, and then the person gets the card and they're like, dude, like what? Like, I don't know. I haven't seen the scans or like the pictures for comparison, so I don't even know.
Let me see if I can pull up at least a picture or something, maybe.
That's hectic, though, honestly. Pokemon card racketeering is a funny concept.
Yeah, that's what it is, and that's exactly what it is. Pokemon card racketeering, which is insane.
It's the world we live in. Rattle Pokemon.
Yeah, so Rattle made a video about it today. A couple of other people have like touched on it. I know that Dan was sort of staying a little bit away from it, and which is smart until more information comes out. Which I should have stayed away from it until more comes out, but I'm such a small timer that nobody really cares what I think anyway. so it's more of just a speculative, you know, fun little stream.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, chat? I also have been ignoring the chat here, so I apologize to you guys. How you guys doing today?
Hi, chat. What's up?
Sorry about that. This is some crazy stuff though. Like we just had to. I had to talk to Flex here about this situation, this PSA situation, because honestly, more than anyone, you grade with PSA a lot, so you already have no confidence in them.
They're really inconsistent. Like literally, what did I do today? No, I sent in. Let's see. I sent in a bunch of 9s, got a bunch of 10s back. Like, at least half of them that I sent in got 10s again. Dude, I think PSA is pay to win. I did the $30 tier, and they graded all my stuff way more chilling than usual. Or, like, at least when I got my bulk back. But I don't think that's actually the case. It's just really random. You're just playing a gambling video game, but recontextualized. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the $30 tier is a little quicker, and I think that they pay their employees at the $30 tier just a little bit more, so they maybe hate their life just a little bit less, and so maybe they hand out more 10s more leniently. I don't know. That's like my tinfoil hat. I got to take this thing off. Speaking of tinfoil hats, how's it going, Mason Berry? Good to see you, buddy. We should probably talk about, we were just talking about this, the allegations against our Chinese whale friend who apparently, who knows what's going on, but there's some big allegations out there about potentially swapping PSA 10 slabs with like PSA 6 or 7s and kind of making the old swapperoo. And so we hope that's not the case. We've sort of beaten that to death, though. Have you seen or heard anything? I know you haven't already, Flex, but just as of like an hour ago, I think I saw a new release, a new Poke Beach like release for the new set, and I'm so happy to be wrong about something. Like, I'm wrong all the time, but I've never been happier to be wrong about something than just now. But yeah, Scarlet and Violet, new set coming out. You remember, I think in the last pod, I was saying I didn't think Scarlet and Violet would have alternate arts or a trainer gallery or anything.
Does it look fire?
Surprise, I'm wrong. It's going to have an awesome trainer gallery or secret art rare gallery or whatever the hell you want to call it, the new thing. But with EXs, do you remember Generations, Pokemon Generations? You remember the Charizard card in that? The Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard line?
Yeah, it's like the baby one or something.
Yeah.
It's like the kid grows up. Is that the one or is that a different set?
It's the generation, that's the one with the kid and he gets older.
Yeah.
So they're doing that type of a thing with the new artwork. So they tell a story. So they leaked Gardevoir. Spoiler alert, they leaked Gardevoir EX, and it has Ralts and Curlia. And it's like the first two, the Ralts and Curlia are like trainer galleries. They're like flat, kind of like beautiful full arts where it shows like Ralts with the child, with the younger trainer, then Curlia as it's getting older. And then it shows Gardevoir EX in the final form with more texture, I'd imagine. And it's got like full grown, adult, and it's like, it's a beautiful story. And I've seen several different leaks of different cards. There's like a Slowpoke, there's like a Lucario, or I think it's a Riolu, but there's some pretty beautiful, beautiful cards in it. And I personally thought they were going to dial it back with the base set, because Sun and Moon, they dialed it back from Cosmic Eclipse. Sword and Shield, they dialed it back from Cosmic Eclipse. Sun and Moon, they dialed it back from, what was it, Legendary Treasures was the last black and white set. They kind of took away like those crazy gold cards and those crazy things they had in Legendary Treasures in Sun and Moon. I thought they were going to do the same thing. I've never been happier to be wrong. Like, I was sitting here thinking I was gonna have to order less Scarlet and Violet, and like people are gonna get tired of Crown Zenith, and I was gonna have 2 or 3 months where I was stuck with like Crown Zenith and Scarlet and Violet, but no reprints of booster boxes. But hey, it looks like it's gonna be a good set, so I'm excited for it now.
Yeah, no, it looks dope. I mean, I'm only seeing 6 cards, but it looks really sick.
Personally,
looks really dope.
Personally, though, like I don't care as much about that. I'm excited, but this is like a drama stream. You know what makes me angry and what yanks my chain more than anything right now? If we're going to talk about drama in Modern, it's Crown Zenith being sold before street date, before legal street date or whatever release date it is literally being sold right now as we speak live. And it just pisses me off. Because it's just sort of like, really, like, you're gonna do this so brazenly, you're just gonna do it, and on Whatnot at that, like, this app already gets enough heat. Like, you're gonna make people come here for the stolen product or like the early release that you're not supposed to get. It's really sort of upsetting, to be honest. So I've been trying not to let that bother me too much, but that is drama, and I wish that Pokemon Company would take it seriously and actually reach out and go after these guys and ban their distro, or maybe like slap them on the wrist or do something. I don't know. Like you're literally 2 weeks, 3 weeks early. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And by the way, they're getting like 20 or 30 bucks a pack. So that's a thing too.
Damn. You know what I wish? Okay, this is a totally different topic, but I wish
there was fine. I was done with that. I just want to get that off my chest too. We're
I wish
talking
there
about
was
modern.
more chase in Pokemon. That's all. That's all.
You what?
I wish there was more chase.
Well, I mean, what do you mean? You could go buy yourself a trophy super secret battle, you know, PSA 10 from Zhao. I know a guy. I know a guy who's got you.
At least, I don't know. For me with modern, I've been thinking of, well, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm looking at this sport. It's like, I've been doing sports a lot today. So,
nice.
This Sick Mahomes card.
So you said you were at a card show. So it's a sports card show then, I take it.
It was sports. There was a little bit of Pokemon. I mainly just bought and sold sports.
So who is that? I don't know sports, man.
It's Mahomes. Don't worry about it. But it's cool.
Okay. I know who Patrick.
Look, it's like an alt-art, but he's playing football.
Okay.
But it's just interesting because it's like these types of cards in like sports cards. These are like they look very like the art styles. They're not similar at all, but do you know what I mean? They have the same essence. I feel like, but it's like the arts are so sick, but then the cards are like $2. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's like Dragon Ball Super cards. Like, you've seen the Dragon Ball Super game, right? The normal, uncommon, rare, like, they look so flashy and so nice and so well done. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I just wish sometimes the arts reflected that, like, chase or, like, that, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
so, like, they didn't make the really, really easy. So, okay, I was thinking about that with Scarlet and Violet. Like, if these like alternate art trainer gallery, like the new story art rares that they're making, if they're not hard to pull that final form, like the Gardevoir EX, for example, that alt art version, if it's not really, really hard to pull, people aren't going to care about it. They're not going to care at all. Like literally, yeah. If it's like a trainer gallery, like we had in, if it's not alternate art odds where it's like 1 in 1,000 booster packs or something, people will not care about it because of like what you said. It's a chase thing. Like people need a chase. Like you're right. They need something to chase. That's what I think
really bad. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's like against the Pokemon consensus, but I think case hits would be sick. I know people talk about numbered. I don't want numbered necessarily, but I at least want some sort of like, do you know what I mean?
That's alternate arts. That's a case hit. You get 1 in every 6 boosters in like Lost Origin.
Yeah. I don't know. They just don't even feel that crazy to me still. Do you know what I mean?
I guess so, since it doesn't necessarily have like the numbers and like some of them are like $10 or $20 or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like if it's a bad Pokemon, it's like you hit the alternate art, but it's like, dude, it's like $20, and then it's like,
So some are. It's weird. I don't know what makes the Giratina like $600, $700 when like the Leafeon V from Evolving Skies is like $150. You know what I mean? And Evolving Skies is like $300, like a booster box, 260, 250, whatever the hell it is now. I don't know. We'll call it 300 just for a round number because it's probably going there anyway. And like, I don't know. And Giratina is like $600. So
yeah, like that feels really arbitrary, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very arbitrary. It's very much so. Like I think these all are arbitrary. Like it's cardboard, man. It's fancy cardboard. Like it's all arbitrary.
No, I agree. I was about to say something like that. Like none of it makes any sense at all. Oh my god, I just dropped a card. Ow.
So like I guess right now, apparently Moonbrown's back up to 1,000. Is that what you said, Ancient Mew? That's impressive. I sold all mine when they're like 800. So apparently I had paper hands, and the paper hands didn't do me any justice. That is wild to me, but I'm not surprised. Like someone said, it just defies logic. So I do agree though about the going back to what the chase is, and I hope that Pokemon does something, not numbered cards, but I hope they do something even more rarity than like what they've been doing. Like I hope they keep doing the alternate art style rarity where it's 1 in 1,000 packs, 1 in 600 packs, 1 in 500, like ridiculous numbers so that you do have something to chase. I just hope that it's something more than just like nice art. Like it's a cool Pokemon, you know what I mean? Like give us like a shiny variant in 1 in 100. So like in like 1 in 100 of those alternate art, there's a shiny one.
Yeah,
so
or like, even like
so like it's really hard to hit a regular one. Like it's really hard to hit a regular one, but then you get the shiny one, you're like, oh my god. So like I don't know that that would be your kind of case hit, and they could do that without numbering it too, by just changing the color palette of the Pokemon on the same artwork.
Yeah, I think that'd be sick. Honestly, I'd be hyped for that. That would be cool if there was a rock hard worth 2K. I agree. I don't know if I don't know. I feel like it almost feels anti Pokemon. Like,
you remember Hidden Fates, right? I feel like the last time you had that from what I've talked to you about, like knowing you, the last time you had that feeling for Pokemon was like Hidden Fates or maybe Vivid Voltage. I don't know if you opened enough Vivid Voltage because for me it was Vivid Voltage. That was like that was probably the last time I opened a bunch.
It wasn't Vivid for me. It was Hidden Fates, and then that was pretty much it.
So it was Vivid Voltage for me, and then Champion's Path, I think, right before that. And then Hidden Fates. And I know that I didn't, so I figured you hadn't opened as much Vivid because I'd gotten that through distribution during the pandemic. So that makes sense. You weren't necessarily rocking with distribution or anything. So I feel like Hidden Fates is going to be an example of what Crown Zenith is like if we're looking at it set by set comparison. And here's why. Hidden Fates has all the Kanto Pokemon, which is an obvious win. I think Hidden Fates is the best set ever made. I've said that many times. I'm bullish on it, and people are going to agree or disagree with that, and that's fine. But there's one thing you can't deny is that when Hidden Fates was out, that's all anyone wanted. And it was literally the chasiest thing. People didn't necessarily want to sell it. They just wanted to binder it. They wanted to collect it. They wanted to collect that shiny vault, that extra set, like that new subset that came out. It was highly, highly collectible. And there are many hits in the set. So it didn't feel bad when you're opening packs and you didn't get the one hit, like the Charizard or whatever. And so that was why Hidden Fates to me was such a good set, is that you could open it for a long amount of time, buy large amounts of it, and not complete the whole set, but still feel good about opening it, because there are a lot of good things to hit, and it was spread out, but it was a big set. Okay, Crown Zenith is giving me the exact same vibes. The only difference is it's not shiny. Instead of shiny, they're alternate arts. So all the shiny Pokemon, take those out of the set. Baby shinies are now the trainer gallery, the non-textured trainer gallery. And then basically the textured trainer gallery is like the full art shinies. They're all pieces of art. People are going to want that in a binder. I just talked to someone in one of my streams, and he was telling me he just finished his V-Star Universe binder. He's like, I just wanted a binder. And he's like, dude, I got to tell you, it is the most beautiful thing. He's like, it is a gorgeous binder. And I can only imagine what it looks like flipping through those alternate art pages, especially the one with the God pack where you have like the 9 cards that become the one picture on a binder page. That would look so good. And so I think people aren't going to necessarily want Crown Zenith because they're trying to stonk out on it. I think they're legitimately going to want to open it because it's fun to open. They're going to be bindering it. It's going to be readily available for a long period of time, and it's going to be highly collectible. And so I think there are going to be a couple cards that are really desirable in it, like the Pikachu. They're putting that Precious Collection Pikachu in it as a secret rare, which that's the first time they've ever done something like that. Did you hear about that, by the way?
Mm-mm.
So do you know the Precious Collection box, the Sword and Shield $500, the black box with one card in it? They do it once. Yeah. So they're putting that Pikachu in Crown Zenith as the secret rare.
Do you think it's going to be an easy to pull secret rare? Or
I saw someone pull it on Whatnot just recently in the stream that won't be named.
Canceled stream. I don't even know what stream it was.
Yeah, but they pulled it in a. So I don't know how hard it's going to be to pull, but it's definitely going to be, I think, a big card. I think it's going to be a really good card. Okay. And then the full art trainers are alternate art trainers. Literally, alternate art trainers. The first ever. If that's not exciting, I don't know. That's pretty exciting. I don't even like trainers. That's cool.
I think, my problem with Modern is it just goes back to the ceiling feels too low for to justify me opening anything. Does that make sense? For me, it's maybe I just spend too much time around sports cards, but at least in sports cards, I can open up a 2019 Jaws Ion Rookie Year box, and I can at least I can be wow, I can pull a gold jaw card still, and that can go you know what I mean? Whereas it's
how much is it? What's the odds on it though?
It's stupid high. It's stupid low. The odds of you getting are pretty much non-existent, but just the fact that it's there to make you at least enticed. Whereas it's like Pokemon, it's okay, I can get an alt art. If I get the best alt art, it's like 400 at the ceiling. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, dude, I'd rather just go buy the alternate art and just get a tenable copy raw. Do you know what I mean?
We're talking odds though, right? So for like a $3 or $4 pack, which is sort of what you would buy, evolving size $4 at like Walmart, Target, whatever. They're $7 market. So let's call it market instead. $7 pack. Open a $400 card. Moonbron's about $400. That's but it's a 1 in 1,000 packs to do that. So with a sports blaster, how much does it cost to open up like something like a booster pack or a blaster pack? I don't know how it works. Does it work like it?
I mean, you can buy cheapo packs for like $10.
Okay,
you can buy like a blaster for like 20.
So out of a $10 though, what's your best possible hit, and what would you say the odds are? Because I legitimately don't know what.
In
like
sports, if you got the top rookie, like if you got the black, so they have like, I mean, there's so many variations, but we'll just keep like we'll skip all that. But it's like if you got the black 1 of 1 autograph.
Which you can get in a $10 pack?
You can, in theory, yes.
Okay.
It just depends on the set. There's so much like dumb nuance to it, but it depends on the set. Some of them you can, some of them you can't. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then, but in theory, you can from certain sets. So you can at least get like a gold out of 10 auto of the best rookie of the class, or you can get like one from like Curry or someone like that. You know what I mean?
And what would you say that would be worth, like as a ceiling kind of thing?
Curry gold auto out of 10 would probably go for like minimum like 3. It would go like 3K.
Oh, geez. So 3,000 is the floor or the ceiling. But is the are the odds more than 1 in 5,000 though?
The odds are fucking 1 in like 100. It's like a fucking lottery ticket. You know what I mean?
Okay, because that's the difference. Because like, okay, so if the odds for a Moonbrown are 1 in 1,000 and it costs $7, and you have a chance at hitting it, and the odds for hitting the 1 of 1, whatever, you know, Ja or Steph Curry, whatever it is that you're looking for in the particular blaster is 1 in like, so 400, 3,000, 400. Let's say it's 4,000. Let's say it goes to 4,000 just to make it so 10 times more. So is it 1 in 10,000?
I don't know. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. Fair, I know it's just like it's like the odds of pulling an auto are like 1 in like, I don't know. I'm trying to imagine what it says on the back of the pack, like 700 or something like that. And then to get a good auto, the odds are like you multiply that by how many players signed. It's honestly a really absurd amount. But like
that's what I mean. Whereas you only have to hit the Moonbreon. There's not like, you know, it's just the Moonbreon. It's 1 in 1,000. And
but so it's like for me, like where the gap is, it's like, okay, Moonbreon, yeah, but it's like I can just go buy a Moonbreon. I'm not gonna go buy a $3,000. Do you know what I mean? It's just that having the back of your head thought where it's like, okay, at least this is a possibility. That at least makes me want to open. It gives me a little grain, or it gives me a little morsel of like wanting to open it, as opposed to being like, okay, I can get a Moonbreon, but
just buy it somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. So but I'm never gonna buy a gold Curry auto. Like, do you know what I mean?
Out of all the arguments you've made, that one makes a lot of sense. That one makes the most sense, and I have no retort to that because I totally agree with you. Even though the Moonbreon is so hard to hit, you could literally just go buy one. It makes it sort of. And they're all PSA 10s. Like 85% of them are PSA 10s.
Dude,
like
I see Moonbreons
by a child
PSA 10 every day. Like not every day, but there's always one sitting, and I'm like, dude, it's not that hard. Like I'm never gonna see a Curry gold out of 10 auto.
Right. So I agree with that statement about the rarities. So it is more of a rarity thing, is what you're looking for, and that's what the gold auto signature sort of 1 of 1 offers for you. And so from my perspective, though, as a Pokemon person, like looking from the outside looking in, I see that gold auto and that 1 of 1, and I see that high price, and my eyes roll to the back of my fucking head. Because while I would have possibly bought a Moonbreon and, you know, had it and graded it, like you said, I would never go and buy a $3,000 1 of 1 like autograph. I would only hit that in a pack as a lottery, and I'm not a gambling man really, so I wouldn't even do that per se. So like I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that aspect, but I disagree on like the parallel in some regard, because I would say that autograph and that 1 of 1, while it makes it rare and it does make it valuable to a lot of people, to me from the outside looking in, it's just a fucking autograph, man. It's literally just like Is like
No,
they
that makes sense. I on the rare, it's more that like for a personal thing, what I'm trying to say is it gives me a reason to chase. Do you know what I mean? Like it gives me that's the only thing that like sometimes every once in a while I'll open sports cards just because I'm like, oh, maybe I'll open this and I'll get this crazy auto that's like really ridiculous. Whereas like Pokemon, I'm like, I feel very zero, like I feel no chase. Like it goes back to the chase circle where I'm like, okay, I can get a Moonbreon, but it's like I can just go buy a Moonbreon and like look at it. I can make sure it's centered good. I can make sure it's clean. I can make sure, you know what I mean?
I agree. I guess I would just argue once again. This is where we talked about this in one of our first podcasts, actually, when it was just me and you, and we first started. We talked about the intrinsic value of trading cards and sports cards, and like, and I think I was arguing sort of a similar thing. Then is that like I do think there's intrinsic value behind playing cards, even if they're never played, and trading cards versus something like a sports card where it's not ever possible to use it and it has no utility. And I'm not saying that like Illustrator Pikachu is $5 million because it was played in some person's deck and you needed it to be the best, the greatest number one trainer in the world. No, I'm just saying that like I still assign more intrinsic value to trading cards than sports cards, even though I know that sports cards are a bigger market and so I guess I don't know. So while I sort of hear what you're saying, I just disagree intrinsically with like I guess the sports mentality, I guess, is what it is, maybe. And I'm coming at it from like a Pokemon mentality, and that's where I'm having trouble seeing it from. Because like I would look at an auto, I'd look at like all those refractors and all the different, the different variations and spectras and stuff, and I'd be like, it just looks like the same card, just with it's just a different rarity level. And that's what someone wouldn't necessarily say about an Umbreon VMAX versus a Moonbreon. While the Umbreon VMAX is $1, the Moonbreon's still only 400. Well, there's not like a 10,000. I guess is a black label? Is that like the option for the big high label chasers and like those types of? I don't know. That's not a thing for me. But
see, that's what I'm like trying to get at. It's not necessarily like the autos or like anything. It's more just like in modern Pokemon for me, there like feels
no chase.
The chase feels too easy. Like I'm not even trying to be like that either, but the chase is set, best card out of set, PSA 10 of that card. And at least with like being like, okay, black label that card, that creates a sense of like chase
rarity among yeah.
And it's not even about rarity for me. It's more about like for me personally, it's like the experience. It's like the experience and the what's the word? Like the possibility, and then trying to chase that possibility. Do you know what I mean?
And I agree. I agree with that. And that's what I'm trying to say about Crown Zenith is I do think that there's going to be that chase for a lot of people with Modern and Crown Zenith again, which hasn't. Maybe people are doing trainer gallery collections, so maybe that's why they're opening things. Because like, why open for? I look at something like Astral Radiance. Okay, you got $100 Machamp in it. The Machamp's $90. You can buy it for $100. It's the best card in the set, and it's a Machamp, so it's like, okay. So like, why would I go and open $100 booster box for $100 card that I'm probably not going to pull? It's going to take me more than a dozen booster boxes or whatever to probably pull it, unless I get extremely lucky. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. So there are certain sets where I'm like, it doesn't make sense for me to open unless I'm literally just opening for the experience of all the other stuff that's in it, like the trainer galleries, the auxiliary hits. Maybe I'm filling out a binder. And that's what I've seen in the last 6 months or so is a lot of like the stonk, the hype dogs, people who are in it for the chase and the money and stuff have honestly, unfortunately, had less to go for. And because the market's not necessarily doing what it was, it's sort of more of like the collectors at heart. So that's sort of the remaining core of what's left in Pokemon, I would agree.
Mm-hmm. I see one thing in chat I want to reply to because Mason said game pieces can't be unobtainable. I'm not saying that. Like, I think what they should do is it goes back to what you were saying about like the shiny, the one of one like it takes one pack, like 1,000 packs to get the alternate art, but then you have a higher rarity of the same card. It functions the same way, but it's just you know what I mean?
Like, yeah, and so that's why, I mean, like, that's where my issue with one of ones has always been from a trading card game perspective is like, if you do a print run of something and you make the one of 10 and you put it all in that print run, you can't then do subsequent print runs to like fix the demand if there's a great demand for the set. Like, for example, if Evolving Skies had initially only it had one of ones and one of tens in the first print run of Evolving Skies, and they couldn't reprint it the 5 or 6 times that they already have. Listen, we've reprinted Evolving Skies more than almost any other set in my memory. It's been reprinted to the freaking ground, and it still is almost $300 a booster. I imagine a world where there were one of one Moonbryons, and Pokemon couldn't go back and reprint it 100 times to fix that price and make it.
Could reprint it. It would just create a disparity. It would almost create a first edition stamp without creating a first edition stamp. You know what I mean?
It would be two separate products then. Then you would have the initial wave of the product with the initial numbered cards, and then you have the second wave, and then it would be a weird dynamic like first run, second run. And I don't know. I think they got away from first edition cards for a reason. Like, I always felt that that was one of the strongest and best decisions that Pokemon made, was getting away from first edition versus the unlimited first edition, separating it. Because at heart, the game is that it's a game. And when you start looking at it where it's like first edition is just for collectors and it drives up the price and stuff, it starts taking away that sort of like the genuineness of it, I guess. I don't know. That's my point.
Also, Mason, I know you're not trying to shit on me. I was just trying to like point the perspective of like making the game pieces, but still creating weird variants of them.
So that's sort of my argument against being able to make second print runs of the same. Because like if you did make that second print run, it would be a weird first print, second print thing, which does exist in Japanese sometimes. Like, I don't know at what point they stopped doing first edition and unlimited. And it's weird because unlimited is like more rare than first edition in a lot of like print runs, rarity, scarcity sort of things. But it's not necessarily like what generally people look for, because first edition is first edition. So I don't know. I personally think that the first edition thing, getting away from it, was a good decision. I know a lot of people have like wanted them to go back to kind of that, because it does create more of that chase, because it's a value thing. But I guess maybe we're seeing it a little bit. We're agreeing, but we're seeing it from different angles. Like, whereas I'm like saying like, yes, there isn't that crazy $10,000 chase. I'm sort of saying that's a good thing because it spreads it out a little bit more, and I'm kind of more okay with it being spread out a little more, I guess.
That makes sense.
Because like, I mean, what happens if you open up one of those blasters, like you spend $10, you open up a blaster, and you don't get the one of one? Like, are there a lot of other cool things, or are you literally always crying unless you get the one of one sort of?
I mean, you can hit like random stuff, like a colored rookie of like a good rookie.
It's a couple $100 or something, and you still have a good day, or
I mean, you can hit random. Like, I mean, if you hit like a good colored rookie, it'll be like 30. You know what I mean? Like $30, $40.
And is that hard to hit? Like, or is that pretty rare? Because like you can hit like a $20 card in Evolving Skies, and like, I don't know, every 20 packs, maybe you get like a $15, $20 card, maybe. I don't know, maybe every 30 packs of booster box, you'll get something that's worth $10, $15. And then maybe once in a while, you get something that's worth like a couple $100, you know, a VMAX Altart, like a Rayquaza or a Sylveon or an Umbreon or whatever, you know, those are a couple $100.
Yeah. No, I think they're relatively the same. I think the Pokemon, like, opening sports versus Pokemon is relatively the same. I also don't. Oh my god, I feel so like bad just always talking about sports cards, but that's just where I'm coming
from. But that's honestly a perspective I don't get, and I need that, because the sports world is more of like it's a much more market driven, like fast paced. It moves weird. It's got weird variations. I completely don't understand, and admittedly, I do not like the sports market. So like, I'm curious to hear what it's like, because like I stay away from that because it sort of makes me a little uncomfortable. It seems like a more gambler's market. Because like what you were saying, it very much felt like you needed a gamble. Like, not that you're a gambling. I'm not trying to say you have a gambling thing, but I'm saying is like, what I was hearing is like, yeah, I don't want to open it because there's not enough of a gamble for me. Because I was asking the odds, and it's like, I don't even know the odds, but there's a chance. But
yeah, okay, hear me out. Because it's like opening Pokemon packs is gambling too. So it's
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
If I'm gonna gamble, because I don't know. I'm not saying either that Pokemon needs to be like this either. I'm just saying from a personal point that this this is like something like that is the only thing that would make me want to open Pokemon. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I guess
But,
so.
But so basically,
bro, I'm gonna send you a binder for your birthday. I'm gonna send you a binder for your birthday. You and Retro both need binders. You know he doesn't even own a binder.
I had a binder collection. Oh my, never mind. This is gonna be the worst thing to say ever. But
oh god,
I had a
now you have to say it.
I had a binder collection, and it was just like cool cards that I pull out of collections, and I was like, oh, these are pretty clean. And it was like all, I don't know, it was all near mint stuff because I like near mint stuff. And then I was at a card show. This dude walks up and he's like, he bought a bunch of stuff and he's like, you have any other stuff? And he would like the stuff I liked. And I was like, man, I have this binder. And he's like, let me see it. And I was like, okay. And I showed it to him. He's like, how much do you want for it right now?
Oh,
and I was like, I don't know. I literally went through the collector boy thing. I was like, dude, I kind of like
dirty
it.
flipper. You dude, dirty flipper.
I was like, I kind of like it. And he was like, yeah, I like it too. And he's like, I'll give you this much cash right now. And I was like, dude, really? And he's like, do it. He's like, take it. And I was like, and it's like, dude, it was a very good payment for that type of binder. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a similar story that you're gonna make fun of me for later on, which I deserve to be made fun of. Is this the binder? I wonder if this is the one. Yeah, this is the one. Okay. I had someone offer me $3,000 for this during the boom.
Mm-hmm.
This binder is a base set through, what does it go through? Team Rocket. Base set through Team Rocket. So base, jungle, fossil, Team Rocket.
Like the complete sets or what?
Complete sets, yeah. So all Wizards of the Coast. Oh, and it also has a Shadowless set in the back. But it's an incomplete. It's an incomplete set, Shadowless set. The Charizard's on
Shadowless. You said no
Shadowless.
Charizard.
It's like missing a couple hollows in the Shadowless. But
okay.
Some dude, a guy who I was selling like Champions Path ETBs on Craigslist to, homie offered one day. He's like, hey, do you have a base set or like a full base set or a jungle set or any of the full WotC sets? And I was like, bro, I have a whole binder of all of them, right? Like I sent him a picture. He goes, how much? And I was like, it's not for sale. That's my childhood binder. Like I've had that thing forever. Like it's just not for sale. I was like, if I sold it, it would be something like stupid. I'd be like something like 5,000. So then it was a dumb enough number. He goes, would you take 3,000 right now? And I was like, and I was just in the mentality that I was never selling it. And I was making a bunch of money on Modern, like Champions Path. And I was like selling them for like $800 for a case of Champions Path. And so I was like making $500 on a case basically. And I was like, bro, I don't want to sell my childhood binder. He's like, come on, 3,000 right now. And I'm a fool because that thing is worth probably $200, $300.
Oof, that's tough.
It's all moderately played. It's all like, moderately, heavily played, maybe some light play in there. Like the Charizards looked okay. Like the Dark Charizard looks really good. Looks like it could be an 8. The regular Charizard's a 6. It's got a binder dent on it. So it's a 6 or worse. And like, so it wasn't a good binder. I should have taken it. So like your flipperness, I wish I had more of that.
Can I tell you my childhood collection story?
Yes, you're gonna tell me a win, I hope, because I told you a loss. You have to at least counter with a win, please.
It's a win. I think it's a win. Okay,
if you can sell, it's a win. Yes, because I should have sold.
My childhood story is I had this aunt, and I think my aunt was like, "Your parents suck. I'm gonna take." So she would take me over to her house on the week. This is how I got in Pokemon cards. So this is the backstory. But so, oh man, so she would take me. I would hang out with her like once a month. Like she'd take me on the weekend and we just like chill. And she'd always buy me Pokemon cards.
Was she your mom's sister or your dad's? Like, who is it?
It's my dad's.
Okay.
So my parents wouldn't get me Pokemon cards. This is when I was like a little ass.
She was the cool aunt. She was like trying to bribe you, trying to be cool by getting Pokemon cards.
She was the homie, honestly.
Yeah, totally.
She was like, you like this? That's dope. My parents would be like, you like this? This is so stupid and a waste of money. And I'd be like, oh, my life is over. But no, she would get me that. And so my collection from growing up was entirely based off of packs that she bought me. And that was like, it was honestly like, let me think, like 3 binder pages.
When did you get in Pokemon? Was it base set or was it jungle? I'm sure we talked about this, but no, we haven't because I've never had you on the trainer profiles.
Oh, this is good for that.
Yeah,
but anyways,
we don't even have to do one now. This is
I got into Pokemon. Oh my god, I got into Pokemon So my uncle bought me a copy of Pokemon Red. I don't know when. I don't know how long it was out for. I don't know if it was like right when it released or if it was like afterwards, but I played it and I was like, this is sick. You know what I mean?
Did you have first edition cards like base set or
No.
shadowless? No? Okay.
I didn't have a lot of base set.
Okay, so you probably got in like right when Jungle was coming out, like I bet, and maybe you were seeing. I don't know without no. But if you got red though,
I
if
saw
you
a
got
lot
red,
of
you probably were in the beginning though. I would think.
I saw a lot of Jungle.
Were you out in Albuquerque still?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've heard that a lot of Shadowless and First Edition didn't make its way to that part of the country. Okay. Being on the West Coast, like I found First Edition base set, I found like Shadowless in my original collection. Like I actually
found any.
Yeah, so I was really fortunate to be able to like see that stuff in my collection and have firsthand experience with it when it was coming out. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you were more in like unlimited, I guess you were saying, probably because of where you were at.
Honestly, now that I think about it, I was more the era that I remember where she bought me a decent amount of packs was like she bought me a little bit of Team Rocket. It was a little bit of Team Rocket. It was an okay I know because I had basically I was going to tell you the story, but I remember I didn't have a lot of holos. Like to give you perspective, I had Team Rocket Return or the Team Rocket Sneak Attack holo. I did have a first set of that. I had that. I had a Charizard that my uncle gave me. Because okay, this is a funny story, but this is another uncle, but he was a very like flea market kind of bro, dude. And like he was decked out in Pokemon. Like he was flipping. Like he didn't know anything about Pokemon, but he was just flipping it. Like he was I don't know where he got it, but he was just flipping all these packs.
Flip Beanie Babies too at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, he was just flipping that. And he's like, "Yeah, I have a Charizard. You can just have it." And I was like, "Bet." He gave it to me for Christmas. I cried. But you know what I mean?
I traded a Pikachu, a Jungle Pikachu for a Holo Charizard from my cousin because she couldn't pull Pikachu and she had Charizard and did not want it. She did not like her Charizard.
Really? Yo,
it was I really got that was I feel a little bad about it at the same time, but then when we talk about it like at holidays, she like laughs. She doesn't even remember. I'm like, I guess it wasn't that big a deal to you, but dude, like that was a huge deal to me.
Dude, that's accurate, honestly. Yeah, no, I remember he gave me that. And I was like, dude, this is life changing. But so I had that. Basically, I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, I had like 10 holos. Do you know what I mean? And
so you had a good amount though. That's actually a lot. Like I feel like that's probably about how many holos I had of my like I filled in a lot of other stuff when I got back into the hobby. So like that binder, that only some of it's my childhood. Like
so I had oh my god. So I think I had I'm trying to figure out what I had the most of. But basically I think I had most I want to say Jungle. It's either Jungle or Team Rocket. And then but what's funny is what I remember more vividly is buying Neo packs, but I didn't buy that.
That's crazy. I don't remember that at all. I never did that. So you were in it a little bit later than I was, just a little bit, or you stayed in it later at least, maybe.
Yeah. Well, basically, she bought me. I remember her buying me a Japanese Neo. Oh my! It's the one with like dark light Vaporeon in it. What is?
Yeah, that's Neo 4. So that's Neo Destiny.
Yeah, I remember her buying that before it came out in English. Like there was a store that had the Japanese versions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
There was one of that, and I vividly remember that. And I got the Vaporeon, and I was like, "This is so fire!" Like the light Vaporeon, I just held on to it for like eternity.
It's such a good art, man. Those light Pokemon are some of my favorite in the entire hobby.
Yeah, I held on to it for so long. But,
so what happened to the binder then? You said the original part of the story is like you had a binder of all these old
I was telling you the flipper stuff. I was telling you the story. I was like, oh, okay. So anyways, so I was attached to that binder forever. But it's like when I moved out of my parents, I dumped all my stuff. Like I didn't sell it. I just threw it away and I regret it. But I threw away I had CIBs of every game that I ever played growing up. So it was
you were one of those kids. You kept the box and everything.
Yeah, I kept the box. I kept the boxes until I was in college.
My best friend was one of those kids, and he still has, and he was also one that would buy the collector's editions of all those games. You
Me
know what I mean?
too. Yeah.
The big like gold ones that were like way too expensive and came
Yeah.
with like a stupid figurine, and like he would literally buy an extra one and keep it sealed, and then have like a regular copy you would open.
I wish I did that.
I wonder if he like sold any, because like we don't talk as much anymore, man.
Dude, so when I went to college, I threw everything away because I was like, I don't need this. I'm an adult. Like, you go through that phase.
Yeah, we all go through that. I went through that whole same thing with like Pokemon. I got my Pokemon stuff stolen. I was like, these cards are for kids anyway. I'm playing Magic. Pokemon.
yeah.
Like threw it in the closet, like forgot about it. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, but no, I was like one of those kids. And dude, I wish I did. Because I sold the cartridges and I threw away the boxes. And I was like,
well, at least you sold the cartridges, probably to GameStop, right?
Amazon. I was like, Amazon gives you a better percent than, you know what I mean? I wish I learned how to flip stuff then. I would be balling now. Life would be different. But so basically, oh my God, where was I getting with this? And, okay, skip all that story. I think I told too much backstory. But anyways, so basically I remember, I remember I opened Neo a lot. And so I remember the only holo I pulled from Neo was a Neo Ho-Oh. And I like really liked that card. I was like, honestly, that card was kind of messed up. That's how much the cards you like are the ones that are messed up. You know what I mean?
That's what I love about loving damaged cards, my friend. I just got rid of my PSA 1 Shining Charizard. Feels good. Feels good. But I have to say, I only got rid of it because I didn't like it anymore. I decided I'm not collecting PSA 1 first editions because first edition is trash. And so what's the point of first edition? Like, I wish it wasn't there. It just drives up the price of the card. I like the art of the card anyway. So what do I want that little stupid one on the card for anyway? So I decided I'm selling all my first edition. Any first edition I have is all being sold off of my collection.
Yeah.
Except for Neo Genesis. Weird thing with that. Yeah, I have a weird thing with first edition Neo Genesis. It's the only set that actually I like better as first edition. It has to do with my like childhood memories and nostalgia and stuff towards the set.
Okay, did you open a lot of first set Neo, or is it just like
so? Like one Christmas, when the Christmas that Super Smash Brothers came out, that Christmas, that the game Super Smash Brothers N64. It was the same year that Razor scooters were really popular. You remember when every kid
remember that? Yeah, I remember Razor scooters.
Yeah, so that Christmas is when Neo first edition released as well. Neo, the set, and I was already big into Pokemon at the time. I was playing like Jungle, Fossil, Unlimited. I was in tournaments. I was going to the local tournament scene, getting all those badges and I had a Magic DCI card, and they had like points and stuff you would do. So like I was all into that but when Neo came out, it was the first time I ever got a large amount of packs, and it was the first like time I got to open them up like all to myself, and I got them in a stocking. I got 18 packs of first edition Neo Genesis when it first came out that Christmas in my stocking. My cousin, whom I traded my Pikachu with the Charizard, she got the other 18, and we opened them together. And it was like, and then we played like Super Smash Brothers and like rode our Razor scooters around. It was like super good weather. It's just like super like nostalgic like foundation really fundamental childhood memory for me that like is the only reason I like first edition Neo Genesis. It has literally nothing to do with the first edition. I hate first editions. First editions are so dumb. Someone who wants to pay thousands of dollars more for a little first edition stamp on a card, to me, that's fine. That's totally fine. It's just not me. That's all. So I'm selling my first editions, except for Neo Genesis. I have like a real nostalgia towards it.
Okay.
Because I like the art. Like I don't care about the number. It's the art that matters to me. That's what I like the cards that I actually buy to hold for, is because I like looking at them and I actually like them. That's all. So anyway, but yeah, first edition Neo Genesis, I got a weird thing for. So did you end up selling that binder that the dude was wanting? Like, did you sell it for like your childhood binder? Was that binder, did it also have those childhood cards in it?
No, it's a different binder. It's the binder that I sold that I was telling about the dude is like kind of like buyout collection, pull out cards that I think are cool. And like, you know what I mean? That's like the binder. That's why he wanted it, because it was like tastefully put together. Do you know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah. So do you have another binder now? Because I still need to send you one apparently. Because
you're right.
Start collecting Crown Zenith, right?
You got me there. I don't have a binder anymore.
I told you, you don't have a binder. I knew it. Dude, I know someone who doesn't have a binder when I see him. I can tell.
I'm like, I don't have any good binders. I used to have 6 binders, and it used to be organized by WotC, and it used to be organized by stamps, and it used to be organized by some other random things. But then I became, I don't know. I feel like I became soulless. Just moved all of it.
Well, it's the one thing is like I appreciate selling cards. Like at first, the one card that I sold is one that I still regret. Is a Charizard that I had a Shadowless Charizard. It's not the one that I traded for my cousin, but it was another Charizard that I had gotten along the way somewhere when I was younger. I sold that at like 2019. I basically traded it for Hidden Fates ETBs because I sold it for like $400, and I'm pretty sure I spent it all on Hidden Fates at that time because that was like what I was opening for fun. My fiance and I were ripping it, and that was what we were chasing in Pokemon. And like, I didn't care about a Charizard. I had my original unlimited Charizard that I traded for my cousin. So that one, I really liked that one. I was like, yo, this one's $400. I should sell this one, and I still have the one that I care about. And then I can buy more Hidden Fates. Well, hindsight, looking back on it, I would have rather had still that Charizard, the Shadowless Charizard now from my childhood. It was probably a PSA like 4 or 5. I would have rather have had it for my Shadowless collection, my binder, than like 4 ETBs from Hidden Fates, which is probably what I bought because they're like $100 at that point. So
yeah, okay.
So I look back on that, and I do regret selling that one card, but no other card. I don't have any regrets for selling almost any other card, though. So, like, I can't fault you for liking selling cards, because I also like selling cards. Like, I just sold, like I said, a PSA 1, like a first edition Shining Charizard, because, like, I don't like first edition, but I like selling cards. So that's how I enjoy the hobby. So that's fine.
No, I hear you.
But yeah.
Okay, basically, I'm gonna make the story less long. But basically, so I had that Ho-Oh. I love that Ho-Oh. I graded it basically during the hype when I got back into it, because basically it's like I kept a handful of cards. I just kept like 9 holos that I like. Like I kept pretty much the holos like as an adult. You know what I mean? Everything else was gone, so I had the holos, and so I had like the Charizard my uncle gave me. I had the Ho-Oh, and I had a bunch of like kind of bad holos. You know what I mean? And so I had the Ho-Oh. I graded it.
Big mistake.
It got a 6. I'm pretty sure it got a 6.
Disappointing.
I know. I was very disappointed.
Yeah.
It got a 6. I got it back, and I was like, that's when I was kind of starting to get into moving cards. You know what I mean? It like came back at the time when I was kind of like, oh, you can grade a lot of cards and just move them and make money. You can buy collections and just do this, and it's chilling. And so it came back at that time, and I was like, I like this card. I don't like that it's a 6, but I like this card. I kept it in like my room for like a few days. You know what I mean? I was like, I really like this. And then I met up with this dude. I was gonna buy his he's bought some things from me, and I bought some things from him, and we like met up. And I was like, oh, I just got these back. And then he's like, I really want that Ho-Oh. And I was like, okay. And then he was like, do you want to trade? And I was like, maybe. And like I was still, that's when I was like, I think I was like,
gone. And it's gone. The Ho-Oh's gone at that point.
And so basically he offered me an Expedition Holo Charizard. You can't say no to that.
I
took it. I graded it. I sent it with Ludkins. It took 3 years to get back, and it came back at PSA 9.
Oh, that was that Charizard. I remember that Charizard. I've met that Charizard in person. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I've held that Charizard. Okay.
Yeah. PSA 9 Expedition Holo Charizard, and
that's a happy story. It's worth a PSA 6 Ho-Oh. That's a come up.
It makes too much sense. And it's like, I mean, in theory, like sometimes how I think about it, I'm like, in essence, the feeling of the Ho-Oh or like whatever that represents to me, it just lives in the new card. Do you know what I mean? That's how I feel.
So. And you remember, and you have that thought and that story. Like, I agree. I
Yeah,
don't
it like goes. And then I traded. I'm like, what did I do with the Ho-Oh? I traded the Ho-Oh. Well, I mean the Charizard. I traded the Charizard for a LeBron rookie card. Honestly.
I remember it was in a big deal. It was a
Yeah.
part of a bigger deal. I remember that.
So now
I had to ask if the LeBron was good. I was like, you sent me. I was like, is it a good? He's like,
yeah.
You're like, yeah,
Trust.
yeah.
Trust.
Yeah, you're like, yes, it's a good card.
Yeah.
I figured LeBron James is LeBron James. Even me, a non-sports person, I know that. So
yeah, so it's like, I don't know. Just seeing the card evolve in the process feels really good to me. It feels like a video game, or it feels
and that's I think where you drive the enjoyment from it too. Just like I also kind of so it's less so for me about like evolving and like seeing where I kind of evolve to, because like I oftentimes won't flip my cards into more cards. Like I sold my Charizard with the intention of replacing it with an unlimited one. I'm not going to go and take the money that I bought this Charizard with and go immediately and buy an unlimited Charizard. I'm going to wait until a really good price one comes onto the market and I can get it for a good deal, the one that I want. I'll be patient, and then I'm going to buy that and replace it. But it's not like an immediate look, I have to have this thing. So like for me, I enjoy connecting people with cards. And the guy I sold the Charizard to, he bought 2 other PSA 1 Charizards from me. It started off his PSA 1 Charizard collection, and it turned on a new collector to PSA 1s. So like it's kind of a funny, to me that means a lot. Like I get enjoyment about giving someone else, like leading them into their own new journey, I guess. And like sometimes when people buy things from my TCG player store, they'll buy a bunch of cards or something, and I can see a theme like, oh, this person's an Umbreon collector. Oh, this person collects Alakazams. This person collects Bidoofs. And like you can see themes when you're filling out orders, and I get enjoyment seeing that and fulfilling that and being that middle person for that person's collection sometimes. So like there's different ways I think that different people enjoy like the hobby, right? And so like that's just like a weird way that I find that I do enjoy it, in the same way that you probably like to see your collection evolve into like bigger cards. Because maybe I don't chase things because like the grail that I seek has been sitting right there ever since we started streaming this podcast.
They're gonna say some anime stuff like the grail that I seek is within myself.
It is within my reach. The grail, I have my grail. Like the grail, my grail is a $10,000 booster box, which that might sound to some people like a very small grail, or it might sound like a huge grail. You're like 10 grand. That's ridiculous. I would never spend that or hold that. To me, that box right there, that Urza's Saga booster box, is a Magic the Gathering box that I've held since before I even started YouTube, really. That's the grail of the hobby for me, out of all collecting, all card collecting. And I've not wanted for a lot else since I bought it. So like, I don't necessarily have that sort of like desire to own a lot of things, maybe because I own the thing that I sort of value the most. And it's not because it's the most valuable thing. It's not the best Magic box that's out there. It is to me, but that's sort of a different situation. I'm a very like sentimental type collector because I'm not really a very materialistic person. Like while I deal in collectibles and I sell, like, I'm very like market driven. I'm very like, I may seem materialistic on the outside. I really am not. And so like the things I collect, I don't collect a lot. It has to be really sentimental to me. So that's sort of where I'm at with it. So in the hobby, but I mean, just to bring it back though, I do think that you may be onto something a little bit with Pokemon and having less of a chase, because I will say that a lot of the big streams on whatnot that I find are a little bit cringy. Use big 1,000, 2,000. I saw homie on a stream was doing this. He had a first edition Team Rocket booster box. Okay. Homie would do this once in a great while. He would be running packs. He had like 100 people in there. He would just pop this box on. He'd be like, yo, pull a Gengar VMAX from this Fusion Strike pack and you win this first edition Team Rocket box. And he'd just put that up and he'd put it for a $1 auction, let it go. He wouldn't do it every time. He'd just randomly do it. And people would go nuts. They'd pay $100, $200 for that one Fusion Strike pack to get a green code card and get nothing in it. And they were chomping at the bit to do it. those are the streams on Whatnot that get the most views. And it's maybe that's what you're saying. Like, that's why people want the gamble. That's why, I have a hard time. I don't offer the best bounties I offer are like PSA 10 Moonbreon was like my best bounty so far, was like a PSA 10, which is great. That's like to me, that's a huge bounty, but it's not very big in comparison to things. So maybe you're right. Maybe people in the Pokemon world, the gamblers of the Pokemon world, the pack openers, they want that type of chase. I might argue that that's not necessarily good for the hobby. I think it looks a little bit unhealthy. It looks like more gambling. And it's like, well, I agree that Pokemon is already very much so gambling when it comes to pack opening. It's not as bad because you get an energy card, you get a code card, you get 3 uncommons, some commons, a rare. You can use those cards if you want to. You could trade them to someone that's going to use them, and like whatever it is, I just would argue that there's a little bit more behind it than just gambling, I guess.
Okay, I see you. Are you talking about playability?
I don't want to say it, but playability. It's the card. Whenever someone pulls something, it's not good. It's playable, so at least it's playable. Playability. No, memes aside, I still believe there's intrinsic value in Pokemon. It's pretty late though, and so I'm down to start wrapping this up if you are. But I do want to kind of circle back and just get your thoughts now, coming back to this whole thing. As far as like the whole scammeroni, Chinese whale buying slabs, big PSA 10s, and swapping them with damaged versions of the same card and selling them to other people. Do you think that is something, after hearing the story, do you think there's something that's going to come out more about that? Or are we sort of speculating on blowing some hot air here?
Dude, I don't know what's up with that. It just logically doesn't, like, I don't know. The pieces just don't line up for me, except maybe the piece is just people like money and they'll just do whatever they want to do for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like that's what I wonder is like, when more people, like I want to see a couple more examples. Like I would love to see some more like blaringly obvious examples and have some more of this kind of come to light before I'm really sure to say anything. But pretty crazy story. Like I didn't think that I was going to end the night talking about Chinese whale trophy card buyouts being swapped with damaged copies and then being put back onto the market, but here we are. So chat, if you are here and have been here this whole time, I do greatly appreciate you. And we are probably going to start wrapping up here. So I guess if anyone has any last minute questions or anything they want to add, I would love to hear it. But Flex, you got anything you want to say or anything or whatever?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I kind of called you out of the blue on this, so I apologize for hitting you up on the middle.
Oh no, it's chilling. It had to be done. We must do it for the content creation.
It was one of those things. It was like I streamed earlier on Whatnot, and it was like I was talking about it with my stream on Whatnot, and it was something I really wanted to talk about on YouTube, like with someone, not just to a screen, but I wanted to talk to someone else about it. So I appreciate you, coming on and being that person. So
what I think is interesting too, really quick on this side is it's like these scandals happen or like these scams happen or like whatever, some random thing happens, it blows over so fast. Like, have you noticed that? It's like
it's
I've seen
weird. Yeah,
last longer than this, or like, you know what I mean?
Well, it's like the news cycle. It's like news cycle lasts 2 days almost for things, and that's about how long the Pokemon news cycle, it seems, will.
2 days, and then we forget about it, and then we're like, Crown Zenith is out.
Well, no, the Scarlet and Violet, releases are going to overshadow this. I think like the leaks and things from the new set, like that's probably going to blow this right out of the water for a couple days. But then I guess if some more things come out about it, there was another allegation that Zhao had against him recently too. It wasn't the exact same thing, but it was another allegation against him, which is interesting. I don't know if anyone in the chat remembers that. Remind me what that was, but there's been some scandals. There's been some scandals recently. I guess I don't know how many people are really in the market for buying those big high end like trophy cards though. So.
Dude, I have no clue. I'm always so curious about like how big that upper echelon market is. But
it seems to me like I don't know, man. It feels really so. Isn't in the fine? You're an art guy, right? Like you like art. Like you have an art.
Yeah, I went to art school. I really wanted to be a painter,
Right. You went to an art school. I know that. So like I figured you were at least somewhat interested. Like, isn't in fine art there's a lot of like counterfeits and a lot of scamming in the
There's a
higher.
lot of stuff like that. I think it's all the same because I mean it's all unregulated markets. So I mean you come in and you just do whatever you want. But I think there is intrinsic like fundamental people like the things, people like the art, people like Pokemon. So there's like it's based on the foundation of that, but then it's like the money comes in and everything gets all kind of jank. You know what I mean?
It muddies it up a little bit, it seems like.
Yeah, and it's like I mean I don't know the upper echelon art world, but I assume there's like this stuff that's happening in the PSA. There's probably so much that happens in the fine art world because it's so vague. You know what I mean? It's so gatekeepery. Like it almost, I feel like almost like the upper echelon, like high end art world has way less entry points than Pokemon does. You know what I mean? So there's probably some like really messed up shit going up.
So like is the entryway for like fine art, is it to go to like an estate sale and find this like piece of art that's like being sold at some estate sale that someone just died and doesn't know that like what they have, and you get it for like nothing and then get it appraised and you're like, aha, I have $1 million Picasso painting, I got it for $30 at a garage sale. Aha. Is it like finding a base set Charizard or something?
No, I've heard that that's happened, but it's more, I almost feel like it's more network based. It's like if instead of us being connected by cards, we're connected by like, I like art, you like art. I know this one person, you can buy this painting off of them, or we can do. I know a friend who owns a gal. It's like it's those like bases.
That seems way more scammy. Like there's a lot
There's
of like,
more
oh,
room.
you know,
I
two
think there's
people.
more room.
You know what I mean? Because like, okay, so you know this one rich dude, right? Say you know this one rich dude, and we're this art gallery, right? We're like, yo, I know this rich dude with like millions of dollars. He don't know nothing about art, but he wants to buy a piece of fine art. Let's go get one of these counterfeit pieces and sell it to him. Like, and then these, and so it's just kind of like behind the scenes, so it's unregulated, and like, who's gonna hear about it? Because homie who buys it is just a rich dude who puts it up in his wall. He's like, I got this piece of Picasso on my wall, and he's like, it's not real, man. And he doesn't find out for 20 years later because like he doesn't. So I don't know. Maybe I'm adding a lot of speculation to it, but
I don't know. I don't know enough about that world. I know more about Pokemon world than I do art world.
I bet you the same type of shit happens though. Like you said,
there's probably so much, and I also feel like there's more of like how it's like people do like group buyouts and stuff. There's way more. It's like me and you. We're like, if you have influence, you use your influence to influence other people to buy more art, and it just creates. I feel like it's such a big snowball effect of like, well, he knows that this art is good, and so if I buy this too, and then like, do you know what I mean? It's like literally like YouTube influencers, but in a more.
It's like circle jerking, basically. It's a big circle jerk.
That's how I've always felt about it. I've always been so anti-art because that's how it feels like when you like look at it. But I mean, art's cool. Like fundamentally, it's sick. You know what I mean?
I like having things on my wall. You see, I have a couple of weird things on my wall, mostly like Pokemon merchandise related. I have a lot of nerd culture stuff on my wall. That's the type of things that I like to display.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I don't know. I think everything's like the world is messed up. Everything's messed up. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about it though. I hope those who are able to watch this or who are watching currently had a good time talking about it. I appreciate you guys coming through. Sorry we haven't been that responsive to the chat. It's just kind of late night chat here. Wanted to hang out, do it live, and see what everyone thought about all that. But I do think it's worth talking about, and it's worth kind of mentioning. I know that I'm not the first person to bring it up, but there haven't been a lot of other videos about it, probably because there's not a lot of information out there. Basically, it's a he said, she said sort of situation where a couple of certs have been deactivated, so that leads to like more jumping to conclusions without actually PSA having an official statement. It's really hard to say anything. So if you're watching, go back to the beginning of the podcast. We did tell the story sort of about what's going on in more detail in the very beginning because Flex hadn't necessarily heard of it. And so we had to kind of break the story to him for the first time. So if you are watching it now, coming into the live late, just go back to the beginning and watch the beginning part because we sort of explain in a little bit greater detail in old card shop fashion. In more detail than necessary, probably. We over-explain what happened. So have some fun with that. But if you have made it this far, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate you all being here. We are going to be doing a 2,000 subscriber giveaway. We're 2,200 subscribers. We've been growing like wildfire because we've been doing some whatnot giveaways and things. When we greatly appreciate everyone for that. But we're going to do our 2,000 subscriber giveaway soon. So definitely subscribe for that. And yeah, thanks for coming through, man. I appreciate you talking to me, Flex.
Appreciate you.